I am a senior cloud solution architect at Fusion Connect, and I'm here to talk to you about legacy phones' second life in a modern Microsoft Teams world. So according to the latest Microsoft fiscal year 24 earnings report, organizations are rapidly adopting Microsoft Teams calling. Many organizations have utilized existing phone systems for decades now and face the challenge of migrating to the Microsoft Teams phone system. This migration often presents difficulties with legacy devices such as SIP phones, emergency systems, DECT phones, or analog devices. What I hope to accomplish today is to provide you with a baseline of what you can do with your existing inventory within the Microsoft world. We will touch upon Microsoft Teams SIP Gateway as a solution for connecting native SIP devices to the Microsoft Teams platform, as well as what to do with analog devices and critical devices. So let's begin. When transitioning your telephony environment to Microsoft Teams, it is essential to document the make, model, and firmware information of your devices. This information will be critical in determining compatibility and functionality within the Teams ecosystem. You should consider your organization's approach to collaboration, desktop usage, and return-to-work strategies. Are you prioritizing individual workstations for each employee, or will you use hoteling workstations? Are you planning to adopt a cloud model for your telephony environment, removing all SBC and on-prem management, or do you instead intend to maintain some on-prem hardware to support your devices? Lastly, you will need to identify any critical devices that require redundancy or backups, such as elevator systems, security systems, or fire alarms. So let's dive into existing phone inventory. Organizations that may have made a large investment in handsets and wish to maintain those devices within Microsoft. Now, Microsoft does offer a solution called SIP Gateway. The SIP Gateway is a cloud service that connects non-certified Teams devices through Teams. By updating the device's provisioning to point to the SIP Gateway, it enables users to sign in with their Microsoft credentials. This service translates communication from older SIP endpoints into Teams calls. This feature allows organizations to reuse existing devices like PolyVVX series, originally used with Skype for Business, or other PBX systems. However, the SIP Gateway doesn't support all calling functionalities of native Teams devices, so check your use cases and Microsoft resources to ensure coverage. Additionally, some devices, particularly Cisco, may require an unlocking fee to connect to the SIP Gateway, adding potential extra costs. This comes from the firmware push. So for example, if you're taking a Cisco K9 device that was once registered to CUCM on-prem and moving it over to the cloud, you would have to do a MPP firmware push, and that does come with an added cost. To enable SIP Gateway on a phone, you have to configure it in Teams Admin Center. You have to set the provisioning server URL via DHCP, or you can manually do it on the device. You have to reset to factory settings, ensure firewall allows necessary traffic, and exclude SIP Gateway service IPs from conditional access checks if used. Now, I get the question, what is the difference between a certified Teams phone and a SIP Gateway registered phone? A certified Teams phone is specifically designed for Microsoft Teams, providing a seamless integrated experience. These phones come with features such as one-touch join for meetings, access to Teams calendar, contacts, and call history, as well as advanced functionalities like Better Together over Ethernet, BTOE, for pairing with a PC. These devices are optimized for Teams and offer a native user interface. Conversely, a SIP Gateway registered phone allows existing SIP devices, including those previously used with Skype for Business or other SIP-based systems, to connect to Microsoft Teams. While these devices can make and receive calls, join meetings by dialing in, and perform basic call functions such as hold, resume, and transfer, they do not provide the full Teams experience. Advanced features such as a calendar integration and the native Teams interface. Certified Teams phones offer a richer, more integrated experience tailored for Teams, whereas SIP Gateway registered phones provide basic connectivity and functionality for existing SIP devices. So that's why it's always crucial to understand your practices within your organization. Maybe an executive may need a certified Teams phone, whereas someone just picking up and doing standard day-to-day functions may not need a certified and can survive while using a SIP gateway registered device. It's clear to understand who needs what within your organization and future state. Now, some organizations may have DECT phones in their environment. DECT phones are widely used in areas like warehouses or large spaces where portable phones are essential and Wi-Fi devices just don't suffice. You can register a DECT base station with the SIP gateway, allowing it to communicate with various DECT handsets. This setup isn't natively Teams, but operates within the Teams ecosystem, enabling users to make and receive calls through the Teams backend. For overhead paging, Algo has introduced a native SIP gateway integrated paging device. Now, for organizations that may not have Algo but wish to maintain their existing overhead paging systems, these can still be utilized by working with a cloud service provider such as Fusion, or organizations may need to add additional hardware such as an ATA to support the connectivity with Teams and that device. To summarize, SIP Gateway works regardless of whether you're on a calling plan, direct routing, or Operator Connect, and serves as a method to integrate with Teams. SIP Gateway is going to be the best option for organizations trying to maintain legacy inventory while utilizing Teams calling. So moving over to the wonderful world of ATAs. Some organizations inventory involve ATAs, which are analog telephony adapters. It allows for the connection of analog devices downstream, such as emergency phones or paging solutions. One limitation of ATAs is that they do not support faxing capabilities within Teams. Fax machines use the T38 protocol for transmitting faxes, and while PSTN could be connected to a fax machine through an ATA and SIP gateway, the reliability of this setup for fax transmission is questionable, and it is recommended to handle faxing through an alternative method, such as eFax solutions or independent systems outside of the Teams environment like a cloud provider. Another potential use case for ATAs is emergency systems that need to remain operational in the event of an outage. For example, fire alarm systems that need to meet NFPA standards. However, using Teams for such scenarios may involve multiple dependencies such as redundant internet access and power supply to the ATA. This introduces several layers of potential risk, making it advisable to consider alternative, more robust solutions for emergency communication needs instead of Teams. Think of this as bringing in another cloud provider to maintain connectivity through SIP services, and then also enhanced services for a LTE battery backup for elevator phones, so that if there is an outage, you will have that redundancy already in place. And those devices may not even need to have connectivity into Microsoft Teams. So again, multiple different ways to look at it and manage it in the event that you have these kind of devices within your organization. Another option for analog device interoperability is using SBCs or session border controllers with direct routing. SBCs act as a voice router, communicating with various devices on one side and Teams on the other when configured for direct routing. Microsoft certified SBCs like the AudioCodeSBC 1000 or SBC 2000 features FXS and FXO port to interface with analog devices. Alternatively, ATAs certified for SIP Gateway can connect directly to Teams, simplifying the setup. Now, an SBC can manage multiple analog devices, bridging them to Teams via direct routing. This setup avoids the complexity of native Android applications, offering a streamlined connection for analog devices. So again, factors to consider. You have a couple different options as to how you want to manage ATAs. You can have an on-prem device with like an SBC managing your entire inventory, or you can utilize SIP Gateway if the ATA is a certified SIP Gateway device like an ATA 190, 191. So multiple options for you when setting up Teams calling. So be aware as to what the requirements are for these devices and how you can support them. So that concludes today's session. We understand that devices vary within an organization, including phones, DECT handsets, paging devices, and ATAs. Just know that if you are moving to Microsoft Teams and wish to save some money by utilizing your existing inventory, there may be a way to make it work. There are several Microsoft resources that provide further information, such as learn.microsoft.com. It provides device catalogs, SIP gateway details, and supportability lists. The SIP gateway plan link offers a list of compatible firmware versions and device types. So thank you for your attention today, and I look forward to speaking to you in the future.